Hey, get in here. Dallas is about to start.
Welcome to the Ewing Barbecue, where we usually talk about Dallas, but today we have a special DOA episode where we are talking to William Keck. My name is Mary.
I am Josh, and William, why don't you introduce yourself and just...
Hey guys, thank you so much for having me on. I've enjoyed listening to your podcast, and it has me so excited for the Southfork Experience. I have the great honor. Yes, I am so excited. I am going to be moderating 4 panels down there. So I get to reconnect with the cast. I actually started out as a print reporter for USA Today. I had a column and TV guide, and I got to go to Southfork many times over the years to cover the Ewings. So they feel like a second family to me. And I have a book out, if I could just mention my book.
Heck yeah.
It's called When You Step Upon a Star. And it has several Dallas chapters in there, chapters about Larry, our friend Larry Hagman, and a chapter about Dak Rambo, wonderful man. I think we all did not get to meet. He left us too soon.
Yeah, no.
And then a chapter about Victoria. So,
and we'll circle around to that, and because I had the book on my list of bullet points to bring up, but you do seem to be the go-to person for cast reunion moderator activities. I know you did the Paley Fest in 2012 with Dallas.
That's right. Yeah, for the TNT reboot.
And you've also done, I'll just punch off the list here, Brady Bunch, Partridge Family, Happy Days, Laverne and Shirley, Mork and Mindy, Lost in Space, Life Goes On, Dynasty, Dallas, Knots Landing, Falcon Crest, The Waltons, Batman, and on it goes. How did that all start?
Yeah. You know, I think it started with me being kind of a lonely kid, an only child, and I lived, like a lot of us, vicariously through my TV. And the families like the Bradys and the Waltons and the Ingalls, and of course the Ewings, became my surrogate family. And I wanted to come out here to LA, where I live, and meet all them. And I did, but the first job I had, I worked for Aaron Spelling Productions originally. I got to work on the original Dynasty miniseries that wrapped up all the loose ends when the show was canceled. But after that, I went to go work for the National Enquirer. So I was meeting all these people, all of my beloved surrogate family members, at their weddings and at their funerals, and sneaking in where I was not invited. So it was a case of be careful what you wish for.
And I know I looked up a clip or something, and you were talking about John Candy's funeral. And it's before you answer that, it's an interesting side note. Is my aunt was living in Pompano Beach, Florida, or had a place down there, and she saw a sign in the elevator that John Candy had passed, and she was talking to the owner of the building, and he said that John Candy's mother and sister lived in that building, and he had to break the news to them about John Candy's passing. And they threw themselves on the floor, and they were crying, and it was just...
wow, that's terrible.
That's my God! Kind of like a 6 degrees of separation to your connection to.
Yeah.
You know, I know Pompano Beach very well, but apart from that, I sympathize with that woman, because I actually were getting off track from Southfork, but we'll get back to that quickly. But I had the very unfortunate task of letting Andy Griffith know that his son had passed away.
Oh God!
Horrible thing to have to do, and that's part of being a news person. You get to do fun stories like going to Southfork, but for a while I had to do some very uncomfortable stories as well, and that's a lot of what I write about in the book, is how I was able to kind of steer away from those horror stories to working on things like this, like the Southfork Experience, and things that are all about happiness and embracing what we love about the nostalgia of the shows that we grew up loving.
And you made your way into circling back John Candy's funeral, I guess, in that thing, and you were removed, I hear.
Yeah, yes. Keep in mind, this is 30 years ago. This is 1994. So I was
94, yeah.
I was a reckless idiot who was just trying to find my way here in LA. I'm not that person anymore. That's certainly not the person who will be at Southfork with y'all. But believe me, I've made amends. But yeah, no, I was I was escorted out of the chapel where Mr. Candy was going to be interred, and I was able to make eye contact with some of his famous friends like Dan Aykroyd and Rhea Perlman. Danny DeVito. They were all waiting for me to be escorted out, and so that they could come in and properly say goodbye to their friends. So again, you know, not one of my proudest moments. And your audience already hates me.
Well, no, it's good to learn your background and how you got to where you are now. And obviously, working for the tabloids of the Inquirer, you were people work for those magazines. They're typically not friends of the stars. They are trying to get the scoop at whatever cost. So how did you make amends, and now you're buddy and you're moderating panels? And
Yeah. Let me first just mention one thing about the Inquirer and the Star, and then I'll answer that, Josh. You know, I think I remember going to the grocery store with my mom, and she would do the grocery shopping, and I would hang out by the checkout aisles where the Inquirer and the Star were. And back in the 80s, it was very common for the cover, the main image, to be a story about Dallas or
I have a
Knots
box
Landing.
of them all up in the attic still to this day.
Do
all
you really?
Storylines, spoilers,
Well,
this, that, or the other.
I loved it. I remember seeing Pam's car crash, the fireball on the cover.
Yeah.
And they would really spoil things. But, you know, this was not the Inquirer being snoopy. The producers and the networks worked with the tabloids back then. I talked to some of my contemporaries who were there in the 80s, and they got to view the spreadsheet of photos and choose which photos they wanted for their cover. So it was because it was incredible advertising. It cost so much for a 30-second spot on network television, but to have that image right there of Fallon Carrington walking down the aisle, or April and Bobby's wedding, it's incredible advertising to get people to watch and find out what's going to happen after that.
Fallon
image
going
that
up
they
in a
see.
UFO.
So,
No.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, we just watched that episode. Unbelievably. Thank God Miss Ellie never got on a UFO and went to another
No,
planet.
I would have liked to seen her on Knots Landing opposite Julie Harris in some scenes. That would have been a great dynamic between the two of them. Old theater meeting up.
For sure.
They missed some opportunities. You could have had Sue Ellen and JR going up against Sumner and Abby, and just.
You know what? Absolutely. And I mean, I think you spoke with Joan Van Art.
Yes.
Recently. Yes. And Joan had told me that even though she was only on Dallas for a very few episodes in the beginning, she became friendly with Barbara Bel Geddes. And wouldn't that have been great if Miss Ellie, like you said, could have had some scenes with Lily May? I mean, my goodness, I can totally picture that.
The stuff that the actresses would have to talk about backstage, offset, just their theater experiences and the old Hollywood, and that was what was great about those shows is they brought in a lot of old Hollywood. You had the Jane Wyman, Cesar Romero, and I was talking with Jack Scalia, who's going to be at Southfork, and in his episode he talked about the story where he was on a street corner in New York with Cesar Romero. I think it was 59th and 5th, and Cesar Romero said, I was standing on this exact spot in 1928. And Jack Scalia, being like soaking up all of this, he said, tell me everything about what it was like here in 1928. The clothes, the styles, the people, the city, the cars, and that you could just let Jack talk for hours but those old school stories are just incredible. And
yeah, I love going onto YouTube and looking at New York, whatever images there are of New York in the 1920s or 30s. There's images of cruising down Sunset Boulevard in the 50s and 60s and seeing Ciro's and all these restaurants you've heard of, and what the clubs were like back then. I wish there were a time machine. But one thing I love about Southfork is that it's just exactly as it was when we watched it first in 1979, I guess it was, when we went to that ranch.
Right, except for the fact that they are going to be building on a lot of that property in the near future. But we won't see it too much. They're going to keep the main, what we know as is. So
yeah.
I don't know. I'm thinking about maybe moving. I think I might buy one of those houses near Southfork. Wouldn't it be kind of cool?
Can we come for a housewarming party?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I live in Southfork Estates.
Oh, yes.
You know.
Is that what it's going to be called? The Southfork Estates?
I don't.
There is a place in Wiley nearby called the Southfork Trailer Park. I don't know if you've heard of it.
Oh,
that'd be cheaper.
They built
to live
a
in,
replica of the mansion. They have a pool, and all the streets are named after different Dallas characters.
Oh, you're kidding!
So when you're down there, you should take a drive over and take a look.
Oh my god!
We're going to have to do that because I've never seen that.
I will have to try to pinpoint the exact location because one of the tour guides drove me over there before we went to.
I bet it's on Google Maps.
We went to Joe Duncan's son. I think his name was Kelly Duncan. Had a barbecue restaurant nearby, and we went there for lunch. And the memorabilia that was all over the walls. It had since closed down, but
okay.
Oh, how cool is that?
It is really cool. So what are some of the memorable panels that you have actually run?
Yeah. Well, gosh, let's see. So yeah, I think one of the most fun ones I did was when I was with the TNT Dallas cast. It was right after Larry passed, so he was sadly not on that panel. But Patrick was, and Linda was, and Josh was, and all of the cast. Jordana Brewster, Brenda Strong was there, and Jesse Metcalf. And one of the fun things that I did that I think really went over well, and you can watch this on YouTube, is I had Patrick and Jesse, and then also Linda and Josh read a scene, a Sue Ellen and John Ross scene, and a Bobby and Christopher scene.
I remember the Sue Ellen John Ross scene, and it was when he asked why Sue Ellen shot his daddy.
Well, that's the deal, is what they didn't expect was the scenes were from the original Dallas. So both Josh and Jesse were reading as if they were little boys. And yeah, right. Well,
Mommy, why did you shoot Daddy? Right. And I still.
That's right.
Is that on YouTube or anything?
I can still see Josh Henderson's expression and his the tone in his voice.
We'll have to post that.
We're actually recording with him later today, as he's coming on to talk.
Well, he did a great job. We'll bring that up in the Southfork Experience when we talk about that.
That's awesome.
That was a lot of fun.
And you did the panel in L.A. at Burbank, and
that too. Recently at the Hollywood show.
I will insert in the editing a photo right here of you on stage with the cast, and
I mean, and that was with Priscilla Presley, and I had never met her before. That was the first time, as you guys know, that she reunited with the cast publicly for an event like that. It was really I was so touched to be able to do that.
She's my favorite character on the show, so
Jenna
I was so excited. I'm a huge Jenna Wade fan, so.
Speaking of Jenna Wade #1, Morgan Fairchild is going to be joining us at Southfork.
Who was just in the one episode, isn't that right?
Yep, one episode.
She's in town for the Farrah Fawcett Foundation dinner on the 24th with Cherie is going to be there,
Alana
Linda Gray.
Is George Hamilton going to be there?
I don't know, but I know Donna Mills is going to be there, and it would be fun.
Oh,
and Joan Van Ark said, "Well, I have to call Donna and see if she'll pop over to Southfork and pay us a visit while she's in town."
Well, I mean, it sort of fits in. I believe that Abby slept with JR.
Oh, God, yeah.
Over on Knots Landing.
I mean, who didn't JR sleep with?
But the one person who slapped down JR anytime she talked to him was Michelle Lee on Knots Landing.
Oh.
I remember a scene where she and Abby were arguing in the room, and JR is trying to separate them, and Karen turns and goes, JR, shut up. And the look on Hagman's face, he didn't know what to do. He just kind of sat in the corner.
Nobody says that. I guess Miss Ellie And Jock could get away with that, and that's about it over
But
at
Michelle
Southfork.
Lee,
But wouldn't it be
Michelle Lee,
something,
she just
you know?
always was like she didn't take his crap. She's like, JR, shut up.
Oh, man. I always thought it would have been so great, and if the TNT show had continued, if Val could have brought Abby and Karen to Southfork. I mean, what a cool thing that would have been,
Yeah,
right?
and I heard
Yeah.
that Val was originally supposed to be on a few more episodes, but because Larry passed, they had to juggle the entire back half of the season.
Oh,
so-
storyline?
Yeah.
That
Yeah,
makes
I think
sense.
they were going to do more with the Sue Ellen and Gary affair, and Larry's passing just kind of scrambled all the scripts. But how great though that we did get to see Ted Shackelford and Joan on the TNT return. I thought that was
And
so
Joan did tell me that Ted had a prior commitment and was not able to join this event.
Oh, okay. Yeah. And he wasn't feeling well when he was at JR's memorial scenes. I talked to him. I was there.
Yeah, you were there,
I
and
was
you're
actually
gonna bring that up at the. I know we have some surprises. I don't know if you want to spoil anything that you're going to do with the panels, but we've assisted you with some preparation for the.
Well, yeah. Well, we can certainly say that there are going to be some great clips, and I'm really excited about that because I have moderated Dallas panels before, but never with clips. So we're working on getting some classic moments, and not the typical ones you've always seen. I mean, we've all seen JR and Bobby out of the shower. These are going to be some scenes that maybe we've forgotten about that we haven't seen.
Good.
But
still
right.
juice.
Like I know I've just been putting together an episode with Joshua Harris, who played Christopher, and he actually jumped in on the panel with Omri Katz out there in Burbank with you.
Oh yeah, that's right. I brought them up as a surprise.
There was a point in our interview with him where he talked about how Christopher was always talking about how he was adopted, blaming everything on adopted.
Yes.
So I found a series of clips cut together of him just constantly going on about being adopted, and I have stuck that in the middle of his talking about that. So.
Oh my gosh, you are so clever, really. Honest to gosh, the things you come up with. And Josh, you've been such a help with those clips. I mean, really in helping edit the packages. So yeah, we're super excited to get to show those scenes at the ranch.
And Mary's going to be assisting with the playback.
Yeah, if we can figure that out.
Of course
sure.
we're going to figure it out. We're going to make sure that. Yeah.
Cool.
But
yeah.
So how did you get pulled into this one? Is it we need a moderator, let's call, because I know at one point they were talking about you, or no, I actually mentioned you to Janet Tim, and I said, Janet, let's get you in touch with William Keck and see what because he does panels and stuff. So, and how did it progress from there?
I think at the Hollywood show, I ran into Mario, and Mario was telling me that the event was coming up, and I think more than me being pulled in, I think, to be quite honest, I pushed my way in. I mean, I heard about this opportunity, and I just said I would love to, if there's an opportunity to do it again. Because I mean, these like I said, this they do feel like family at this time, and by this time, and in my book, Linda even wrote a lovely essay in the book where she called me an honorary Ewing. So that's quite. It makes me feel pretty great. And I was just on the phone with her earlier this morning, and I know we're so excited to fly out there and meet everybody.
And I know when we went in, Mary can attest to this, when we went in for our group photo with all 25 of those cast members.
Oh, yeah, I saw that. That was incredible, yeah.
They started applauding us podcast people.
Yeah, that was bizarre.
And I spoke to, I'm not sure if it was Deb Bernard or somebody after, and Charlene, and they said, well, you guys, with all that you do, you're honorary cast members yourselves, too. So I guess we're all part of the family.
Yeah, they're like, you're one of us now. And I was like...
Well, for sure, yeah. I mean, you celebrate it, and you get to bring these people on to talk. And in between these huge events, we have your barbecue to come to regularly and catch up with everybody. So, no, thank you so much for doing this. Really, we appreciate it.
We
so
go
much.
episode by episode. So, Mary,
where are you?
We just started season 7, and we've been doing this for 5.5 years. So
you're getting
a ways to go
to Pam's explosion. That's one more season.
Well, we're season 7 of the new numbering of the seasons.
We just had a Southfork Fire,
DV
so we're in the.
It was just a Southfork Fire. So this Priscilla's about ready to come on in like 2 episodes
really?
for us. We just were introduced to Christopher Atkins and Peter.
Great.
So this is one of my favorite seasons, so I'm really excited. But so we had to decide when we started, do we go by the old season numbering, or do we, but to make it easy, mostly for new viewers who are watching it, it's going to be listed by the new seasons on, online when they watch it on Amazon Prime or whatever.
Okay, so what the first miniseries is going to be season 1?
Season 1, yeah.
And it's interesting with everything now streaming. It took them a while to bring Knots Landing around when it's now on Plex. And at the Hollywood show, I don't know if you have come across Maeve Nutter, Lindsay Bloom's husband. He played Parker Winslow on Knots Landing. And when I was out there, he was saying that they had contacted him about obtaining the rights to music that he had playing in the background of his own so that they could go to streaming. And I was like, ooh, am I getting a scoop here? Is this happening? And a lot of what has held it up, being in the on the inside, that music rights are a killer for a lot of shows. The Wonder Years, and a lot of Lisa Hartman stuff on Knots Landing was slowed them down. And so I came back and I went on the Knots Landing group and I was saying, oh yeah, this is what I was told and this and that. And they go, the people there, they were kind of a little dismissive. They were like, well, who's Maeve Nutter anyway? He didn't have any songs on there and he doesn't know what he's talking about. And then it turns up on Plex and I'm going, what did I tell you back in March, folks? This was coming.
You had the scoop. Well, yeah. I mean, I'm a huge Dallas Knots and also Dynasty. Can I actually show you guys like a couple things
Absolutely.
I have?
Oh my gosh! Please, please.
Let me hold on. Let me.
Yeah.
So I'll see if you can see this. I don't know if I hold this up. Can you?
Oh yes.
So this
Mary
is
just got up for a second, but
original artwork from
that was from TV Guide, right?
And it was by God, what's the name of the artist here? Oh my goodness, Bruce Stark. He did a lot of these. He did the covers, and this was when Bobby was shot.
I remember that. I think I still have it.
They had the 60 Minutes correspondents interviewing the different characters to find out who shot Bobby. So that's why Patrick is not a caricature in this. But they even have on the wall there, John Ewing, which I just love this piece. People ask me
so cool.
If my house were on fire, what would I grab first? And besides my pets, this would probably be one of the things for sure.
Your video went out just for a moment here, but
we go. Yeah, you know what? Yeah,
but I actually still have that article in the box upstairs because I have everything. I've saved everything. I have to make a scrapbook at some point, but
that's what I have. I have 2 Dallas scrapbooks from when I used to cut stuff out of the newspaper when I was like 10.
Oh yeah.
So
yeah, those TV Guide ads were incredible. I mean, the money that they spent to have artists create these incredible drawings of Jane Wyman and what's going to happen on Falcon Crest, and then these amazing the season finale art that they would create, like a 2-page spread, beautiful pieces. And I have something else.
I love all the memorabilia. It's really incredible, and just to be able to see it is great.
This was you probably remember this. This was a TV Guide cover. And this is Knots Landing now better
I have
than
that
Dallas
one too.
and Dynasty?
Oh, yeah, I know that one.
But I was able to get the original artwork for this. So these incredible images that Bruce Stark did of the Dynasty characters, Knots Landing, and these great images of Pam, JR, and Sue Ellen. I absolutely love
it. It is a real talent to be able to do art like that. And I always tell Mario when he's done his paintings, and we're going to be talking with him to preview the auction.
Oh yeah.
The paintings that he has done are so lifelike. And
Oh,
Joan
they're
Van
very
Ark,
good.
she called in by phone. So as you saw in the when you saw her piece, she and I had different photos up of her just to fill in the void. And one of them was the painting that Mario had made, and she was completely floored by it. And she said, I want to buy that myself. So you might have Joan Van Ark bidding on her own painting there.
sold. Well, I'll show you one more, and this is actually a piece that Priscilla had wanted to buy back in the '80s, and the artist said, "No, I don't want to sell it yet, but I got
You have
it."
Mary's attention.
Yeah. Like,
I love this. Yeah. So this is the last one I'll do, but this is a really big piece. This was on the wealth, all the couples on TV that were so wealthy. So there's Victoria Principal as Pam bathing, and that's a shot there they did of Patrick and Priscilla.
whoa.
So cool. So yeah, she tried to buy this, and he said no. I'm not going to sell it. But 25 years later, I was lucky enough to have him sell it to me. Now this is
That's so cool.
in TV Guide. Priscilla had this bright purple outfit, and shame on me, I had this in the sun. And her purple dress has now become a white dress.
Oh,
It still looks
wow.
good. It still looks very good too.
Yeah, it still looks great. There's Heart to Heart. There's that's Blake and Crystal playing tennis. We know those two. There's JR and Sue
Oh,
Ellen.
it's Major Nelson.
And then we have George. Aren't these great? And the last one
Jeffersons
is Remington Steele. That's
Remington Steele.
Pierce Brosnan. So I love it.
Yeah.
And that's was that the Jeffersons next to JR? And
That was the Jeffersons there. That's George and Wheezy.
I always cracked up every time I heard her name. Wheezy.
But he was just the best back then. I mean, honest to God, right?
Television today doesn't really compare with back then. It was just so much. And they had theme songs back then.
Absolutely. The best theme songs. And there's certain shows that we couldn't watch because we had to choose. We didn't get PR until later. So, I mean, for instance, Morgan Fairchild's going to be with us. I got to say, I've never seen Flamingo Road because it must have been up against some other show that I was
And I never watched Hill Street Blues because I was watching Knots Landing. And
exactly. Same with me. And
I wasn't doing Dynasty because I had to get my homework done so I could watch St. Elsewhere, which was on at 10.
I think V was on opposite Dallas, right?
I think so.
Because I always wanted to watch that.
And Miami Vice, they tried to throw that up against Dallas at one point, and Dallas stepped on them.
That's right. Yeah, it was so hard to choose. I mean, and Tuesdays was all ABC. So if anything was on up against Happy Days, Laverne and Shirley, Too Close for Comfort, Heart to Heart. And
joining us, we'll do a run through here of the cast that's coming. Patrick, Linda, Steve, Charlene, Cherie, Josh Henderson, Audrey Landers, Kathy Podwell, who I was with at TerrorCon a few weeks ago. And I got to introduce her to Ray Wise, who played Blair Sullivan. So I got a photo of them together, and they were never on the show at the same time.
How cool.
Christopher Atkins, Jenna Lee Harrison, who had the distinct pleasure of not only being killed twice off the show, but she also played Patrick's cousin on Dallas and Suzanne Summers' cousin on Three's Company. And then Patrick and Suzanne played husband and wife on Step by Step.
Oh, wow. Look at that. Yeah. Forget Kevin Bacon.
Yeah. 6 degrees. Exactly. Joan Van Ark, obviously. Barry Corbin is going to join us. Sheriff Fenton Washburn. Josh Henderson. Josh Harris. So we're going to be overrun by Joshes there, the three of us.
I think you got him. You know, some of them, I know fans are going to be wondering where certain people are. I mean, I remember at the Hollywood show, I asked Steve Kennelly what happened to Susan Howard. And I guess he says she just kind of disappeared. Have you heard anything about Susan Howard?
I heard that they were trying to get her for this and she couldn't commit for some reason. Because I heard she was interested in this one. And
Yeah, I would have loved for her to be there. I've
Priscilla
never
is
met her.
on a fan cruise.
Yes, I heard about that.
And who else wanted to go that we actually orchestrated a reunion of were the three Ds, Deb Renard, Deb Twinelli, and Denon Simpson, who played the secretaries at Ewing Oil.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
right before your panel, they were entertaining the crowd, Denon and Deb Trinelli, and then you had them play the theme music for the intros.
That's right. That's right.
So why don't we just preview the panels that you have?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Sure. Yeah. I mean, I should know them by heart, but I have them here. Let me bring them up. So, so let's see. So there's the cocktail party on Friday night.
I heard you're helping out with that. You've been.
I guess I am. I'm happy to. Absolutely. Yeah. I just booked my plane tickets today to make sure I was there on time for that. So Saturday, the first panel is going to be at 1:00, and we're calling that Southfork Sultry Siren.
Which Joan Van Ark loved that name. She loves that name.
Oh, good. Oh, good. I'm glad Joan approved. That's great. Yeah. And I saw Joan last when Joan and Michelle and Donna did that little reunion at Disneyland for the Gay Days event like two weeks ago.
Oh.
And she was super excited about being part of this. So our sirens include Joan Van Ark, Morgan Fairchild, Audrey Landers, Jenny Lee Harrison, Cherie J. Wilson, and Kathy Podwell.
Excellent.
Yeah.
And we prepared some nice clips for that one.
We have some great clips. Guys, it's so hard. I mean, there are so many great clips to choose from. How do you choose? But I really, whenever I could, I was trying to find scenes that were at Southfork because we're going to be there. So I was like, let's celebrate this incredible manner. So a lot of these will be on the ranch. Then we're going to have the Ewings honoring Southfork's legacy. So these are all Southfork clips. And we'll have Patrick and Linda, Steve, Charlene, and then Josh Henderson, who, of course, continued Southfork's legacy on the TNT reboot. Then on Sunday at 1:00, we're going to do Southfork. This is going to be fun. I've never done this. Southfork Super Couples. So we'll have Patrick and Cherie. And, well, I mean, we've got to show the clip where April in Paris. I mean,
what a fitting title, April in Paris. And
that was brutal. I any time on a cliffhanger when somebody's dressed in white.
I remember that on 24 when Kim Raver was wearing white, and she ended up getting shot because William Devane played her father on that show.
Oh, wow.
I'm like, she's wearing that long white coat. She's not long for this world or something like that.
They're going to be covered in blood by the end of the hour. It's a pretty safe bet. So we have Patrick and Cherie. And then we have this great opportunity to interview Linda with Christopher Atkins. And then also Linda with Jack Scalia.
Jack Scalia, that was the other name I was trying to remember because I counted 14. I'm going, there's 15. Who am I missing?
Oh, yeah, of course. Yeah. So another classic death scene there. My goodness. I mean.
And we were at a dinner the night before with Sue Cabral, who was a makeup artist, Kerry Scott Nair, who was the prop master, and Sharon Sachs, who was the on-set tutor. And they were talking about filming that scene and throwing the dummy over the balcony.
Oh.
And I think it was the first time that you thought you were getting a cliffhanger where it froze, and then it picked up. And the body kept falling.
Oh. And then
more. And those Shepherd sisters really have poor aim. Kristen and Sue Ellen.
I know.
And the scene where Lucy comes in and she goes, well, geez, if you need somebody to steady the gun next time, I could do it for you.
It's so true. But and that body, that dummy that was falling in place of Nicholas Pierce, they figured back then that we would never be able to freeze and look at these things so clearly, and we can so clearly see now that it's a dummy. We're rewatching Dynasty now, And I think it was
Not
for
the
season
lousy, not the lousy
7.
new one that they made.
No,
I
no, no,
call
no,
that
no.
one Die Nasty because it was. I
Yeah,
didn't even watch it.
no, the classic. But I think, Josh, the season 7 cliffhanger was when Alexis drove her car off the bridge and went down to the ravine. And oh my gosh, you can so clearly. I think you froze now. You can so clearly
No,
see in the car it's a male dummy.
really, and you could clearly see a dummy when Victoria crashed into the tanker in the front seat, just lying
Oh
there.
yeah,
Yes, but so and then
that that car,
there's one more
I think I
panel.
had.
There's one more panel that you have.
Oh
Yes.
yes, yeah, of course, yeah. There's one more, and that's going to be yeah. We're going to talk about spinning knots landing off. So we'll have a great chance to talk to Charlene and Joan Van Ark about that
I wish
experience.
Charlene had been on there a little
And
more
then
on Knots Landing. That would have.
she was
She was on one episode.
I think yeah, but it was a great episode. I mean, just to see Gary and Val and Lucy there in California at the beach was just so
Mhm.
classic. We're going to try to show that clip. But then talking about some of these Knots Landing characters coming to Dallas for the TNT reboots, and we're gonna, a lot of the cast did appear on that reboot. There weren't enough, but we got Audrey was on there, so Audrey will be in this panel. And then a lot of the characters came back for JR's funeral, including Kathy. So we'll have Kathy Podwell talking about being
And
asked back.
we had Deborah
to,
Shelton turn up at the funeral, and
She was there. Yeah. What about where's
that's
she?
a good question. I have here. Let me pull it up if I can do it. When they had the 2008 reunion at Southfork, the botched 30th anniversary, they gave everybody a key to the city of Parker.
Yes.
And Deborah Shelton was supposed to be there, but she said later that she never heard that she was.
Oh.
So I am down there when they're filming JR's funeral, and I'm at the house, and somebody goes, we've had this sitting in a drawer for the last like 5 years. We don't know what to do with it. So I have Deborah's key to the city right here.
Oh my gosh, that is so funny.
Yes, that is Deborah Shelton's key to the city of Parker that they gave me. That was sitting in the kitchen at Southfork.
So, Josh, do you have like the biggest collection of Dallas Southfork stuff in the country?
No.
Or
Mary, you're on mute. But no, we have a guy called Cattleman's Club that was at Burbank, and David Goodspeed, and he's going to be there at Southfork in a couple weeks, and I'd like to introduce you to him if we can. And
I would love that. I have some pieces.
He's trying to make a museum.
He has an Instagram, Cattleman's Club. If you look it up, it's just phenomenal.
Crazy the things he has.
And this is a shout out to Cattleman's Club here. So
we may have exchanged things on eBay already. It's possible he may have.
Maybe.
So before we move into the final parts here, as we transition to our next podcast, how did you transition from tabloid? I know you mentioned a mentor here, Jerry George, in an article.
Yeah. Well, Jerry was my editor who brought me in at the Inquirer, and he taught me a lot of lessons. And one was know when to get out. So when I joined the Inquirer, I always knew it would be for a limited time. So after 3 years, I wrapped things up, and I had to reboot my life because nobody wanted to work with tabloid scum. So I was lucky. It's true. I was lucky to get work at the LA Times and USA Today and TV Guide, Entertainment Weekly. And I did get to meet these people in a new way. So instead of sneaking into their weddings and funerals, I was invited to the sets to speak with them. I was invited to their homes. And a lot of those stories are in the book as well. But the big thing was when I went to Hallmark Channel. And so I spent 7 years at Hallmark working on a morning show called Home and Family. And I got to organize big 2-hour reunion specials.
Was that the Knots Landing one that was on there?
Yeah, I produced that. That was a Knots Landing Christmas special. And it was so wonderful. We had Joan and Michelle Lee and Donna, Ted, and the late, great Kevin Dobson. And I mean, they all did their own individual segments. Like Joan Van Ark did a ornament crafting segment. Michelle Lee sang a Christmas song. It was a Christmas song that she actually sang on Knots Landing. which was so beautiful. They were making, I think Donna went into the kitchen and made a recipe. So that was great. So I also did reunions with the cast of Little House on the Prairie and the Waltons and Star Trek, The Next Generation. I think I did about 12 or 13 in all. And so I got to meet these people in a new way as a producer, and we became friends.
There was an article recently about Little House on the Prairie people pulling out of some reunion thing because the promoter was using their names without their permission to generate sales. And
that happens.
So.
Yeah, that was horrible. I was lucky enough to be at the first one in Simi Valley, the 50th anniversary, and that was incredible. I mean, they recreated Walnut Grove there on this location where it originally been filmed. So they took us out there, and the whole cast, including Melissa Gilbert, was there for that. Yeah, so I mean, that was great. But I guess the ones after that were disasters. And from everything I'm hearing, the Southfork Experience is going to be the best one yet.
It's a boutique thing, and I think there are going to be 1,200 to 1,300 people total. Wow, and they want to make it an annual event. They want to make it an annual thing. So we'll see how this one goes.
That's what I'm hearing.
Do you want to end with a little?
Yeah.
You mentioned that there were Dallas chapters in the book. Do you want to talk about Dak Rambo for a minute?
Yeah,
he doesn't get enough press, and so he is missed. So.
Yeah, I'm actually going to leave that. I will say the book, I'm very lucky, fortunate that I will have a table at the Southfork Experience. So when I'm not doing panels, I will be at my table selling the book, offering the book, and I'm happy to talk to people about the stories in the book. The Dak Rambo chapter is a chapter I almost didn't put in there because it's really, it's the lowest point of my time at the Inquirer. It was my very first assignment, and it's just it's a heartbreaking chapter. And since I wasn't able to talk to Dak to apologize, Cherie Wilson very kindly, she wrote a page in the book responding to what the chapter's about and telling people who Dak was. So I was very lucky that I was able to get, like I said, Linda Gray to talk about what I did with Larry Hagman. I mean, I'll say the Larry Hagman chapter was me trying to find the family of his liver donor. So, yeah, so that was, and I did, and that led to a whole thing with Larry. And Victoria, Victoria chose not to contribute to the book, but she did call me, and we had a lovely hour conversation. It was off the record, but she kind of forgave me my sins from the past, and we had some laughs, and she updated me on her life. I updated her on my life, and the book was very healing in a lot of ways. So I was
sounds like it.
People to respond. Marcia Cross wrote a chapter in there, and lots of other celebrities. Sybil Shepherd contributed to my chapter about Bruce Willis. So I'm very happy that I was able to sort of clean the past up and start fresh.
He's going through a very rough time now, poor Bruce Willis, with his,
Oh, well, yeah.
So.
Yeah, he threatened to burn my house down. Speaking of watching the Southfork episode when it's in flames, yeah.
Wow.
But Sybil insists he was only kidding. That he just had a good sense of humor and was just trying to ride me.
Right, and if you don't understand someone's sense of humor, then you can be like, "What the heck are they?" Do I need?
Yeah, I did get an extra fire extinguisher just in case.
So this is your moderator, everybody. If you have not gone to
William
Keck, if you have not gone to,
and please also think of questions. We'll talk to the cast, we'll show clips, but also it'll be your chance. All the fans to ask the questions they have always wanted to ask of these folks. So I depend on you as well to make it the best panels we can possibly do.
As people that do these interviews with cast members, I challenge myself because how many times do they get asked the same thing over 46 years? And I'm sure you try to come up with things that are a little different as well. And
well, as I mentioned, I was speaking to Linda Gray this morning, and I was telling her about all the interviews I've done for my book, and so grateful for every interview, but I do get asked the same question over and over again. And I said, Linda, I can't imagine how many times you've been asked about, so when did you find out who shot JR? And I mean, but I give it to people like Linda and Patrick for always telling the story as if it were fresh and they never asked before. They have such appreciation for this show and the fans that they play along, even though it may be kind of frustrating for them to try to reinvent the same story 1,000 times. You'd never know that. You'd never see that.
Right.
With them.
And I've actually I threw one at them in 2018, and I don't really write down questions. I write bullet points and just kind of let the conversation flow in whatever direction, so it's less scripted and more relaxed. But I said I had Steve, Charlene, Patrick, and Linda, and I said, I want you each to tell me the best storyline or performance of the person sitting next to you.
Ooh.
And they said they'd never been asked that before.
Fabulous. Fabulous.
So,
do you remember any of their answers?
It is up on YouTube. I can send a link to that interview. But that was for...
Yeah, please.
That was for Ultimate Dallas.
I would love to see that.
Your panel that you did in Burbank is up on our channel as well. And it has over 15,000 views. So...
Oh my gosh, amazing. Great.
You are getting some publicity and you didn't even know it.
I love it. I mean, I just can't talk enough about this show. Obviously, you guys can't. And listen, when you get to the episode in the podcast with Victoria's final episode, invite me on, because I had my nervous when that happened.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, it would be great.
And we have Mario De La Casa, who is getting ready for our next podcast joining.
And I owe him.
And so www.southforkexperience.com if you don't have your tickets yet. And we will see you at Southfork on the 26th. And
2 weeks.
Diamond VIPs.
2.5 weeks.
We'll see everybody on the 25th. So
thank you so much for having me on. Tell Mario I owe him a call. I'll call him later this afternoon.
All right. Mary, you want to do the wrap up there?
Okay.
All right. Well, thank you for joining us tonight, and we will see you at Southfork. Bye.
Y'all come back, man.